YouTube and welcome to another GV anime review where we have arrived at the final spring review of this year. Now I know this review is kind of late, but you know the Sword Art reviews took up quite some time. But for this last review we have to get our cool game on, since the last anime that I watched past season was Sakamoto Desuga, or Didn't You Know I'm Sakamoto? So grab your monocles, your hi-hats and get your cool game on. The story of Sakamoto Desuga follows a high school student by the name of Sakamoto. And Sakamoto is the coolest guy in the school. He is not normal cool, no, he is ultra cool in everything he does, from walking to cleaning, everything without ever breaking a sweat. We then follow Sakamoto in his cool lifestyle while others try to take him down. My first positive point was our main character Sakamoto, and to me more specifically the development that he made. See, at the start of this anime, I wasn't really a fan of Sakamoto. I found him to be a douchebag. He was one of those guys who thinks that he's better than all the rest and acted all high and mighty. I think we all know or knew a person like that who you sometimes just wanted to punch in the face. In the first episode, it was like Sakamoto was completely emotionless and apathetic. It seemed that he didn't care about anything but himself. But then as we moved further into the anime, we started to see more and more that Sakamoto actually did care about others. And especially in the final episodes, Sakamoto really showed that he's a good guy who would do a lot to protect others. In the final episode, he showed what kind of a badass he actually is. When he's faced with a certain enemy who doesn't stop at anything to bring him down, Sakamoto keeps his cool and resolves the issue his way, the cool way, without depending on violence. No, he just uses his brain and his coolness to bring the foe down. The next thing is completely related with the character of Sakamoto, and that was the comedy. Now, just like the character Sakamoto, I wasn't the biggest fan of the comedy in the first few episodes. The comedy which mainly came from Sakamoto almost being superhuman. I mean, in the first episodes, he literally fences with a wasp and flies with the birds. Everything was done to emphasize Sakamoto's greatness. And because I didn't really like Sakamoto at the start, I also found the comedy to be over the edge. But then as I started to appreciate Sakamoto more, I also started to like the comedy more and more. And eventually, Sakamoto Desuga became a very fun comedy anime, and until now one of the better comedy animes I have seen this year. And my final positive point was the opening song, not accidentally named Coolest. That was one of the best openings of the past season. I love a good rock song, and this opening had that vibe that I search in good rock songs. So with this opening, my short list for best opening of the year isn't that short anymore. I noticed that this year we have so many great opening songs, and I can say the same about the ending songs as well. Now, because Sakamoto Desuga was a fairly simple, episodical comedy anime, it didn't take a lot of risks, and therefore I couldn't find any objective negative points. So the following two negative points are purely what I missed in this anime. The first thing that I missed in this anime was a romantical conclusion. Now, those who watched Sakamoto Desuga purely for the comedy won't miss the romance. But as you know, romance animes are amongst my favorites. So in this anime, it's clear that quite some girls have a crush on Sakamoto. But there was one girl where I felt that it wasn't just a crush, and that was Megumi. I felt that she was really in love with Sakamoto. Maybe even a bit too much. but at the same time it was quite obvious that there wouldn't be romantical development in this anime, because it would deflect us from Sakamoto's greatness. And another thing that I missed was that we didn't get a conclusion on who Sakamoto actually is. If we look back at the entire anime, then we have to conclude that we don't know anything about him. We don't know where he's from, what his first name is, and if he's even human for that matter. And that became especially abundant in the final episode. Here Sakamoto leaves the school and he gives an explanation on why, but a bit later we learn that's bullshit and the anime just leaves it at that. So who the hell is he? Now there's still a chance that we get some kind of an explanation for that in episode 13, the episode that was never aired because of the earthquake in Japan. So I'm waiting for that OVA to come out on October 26th. So as a conclusion, Sakamoto Desuga was an anime that had to grow on me. I didn't really like it at first, but the further I got into it, the more fun I started to have with it. And eventually I must say that this is one of the better comedy animes I have seen this year so far. So eventually I'm going to rate Sakamoto Desuga at 3.5 out of 5 stars. If you're a fan of episodical skit animes, then this is an anime that you have to add to your to-watch list. My recommendation for Sakamoto Desuga is based on the main male character, and it's The World God Only Knows. I saw quite some similarities between Sakamoto and Keima. Both are a bit of douchebag at times, but they both have very good hearts, and they are both quite overpowered. Now, The World God Only Knows is a romance comedy, but I think if you enjoyed the comedy in Sakamoto Desuga, then you will enjoy the one in The World God Only Knows as well. And with that I conclude my final spring review of Sakamoto Desuga. As usual, you can find the full list of all my animes and reviews over at Anime Planet. As usual, I will put a link in the description box down below. Now if you want me to review a particular anime from this list, please put it in the comments. Also, if you have a recommendation for me, put them in the comments as well. So if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up, visit me on Facebook and subscribe to this channel for more reviews in the future. I will say arigatou gozaimasu and I will see you all in the next video. And the story of Shima.